Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Good to see you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
We
Shalom.
are Shabbat Shalom. We're going to begin with Yedid Nefesh, and Elliot Levine is doing our music tonight. I'm going to ask people to please mute yourselves.
Oh.
I'm going to mute everybody except for Elliot. Let's see. Wait a minute, Elliot. I have to ask it. Yeah, you have to unmute now.
Yedid nefesh al farachaman, Yedid nefesh al farachaman, Meshoch avdach el retzonach, Meshoch avdach ya la 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 el retzonach yarun avdach kemayal yishtachabe la 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 el mol hadarach yarut avdach kemayal yishtachabe la 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 el mol hadarach.
And we're going to continue with the candle lighting, which Ruth is going to do. And if you would highlight Ruth first before we do the blessing. Jason? Jason, can you just highlight Ruth?
I already had.
Yeah, but without the blessing on the screen.
Come,
Thanks.
come, let us welcome the Sabbath. May its radiance illumine the hearts as we kindle these lights. Light is a symbol of the divine. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Light is the symbol of the divine in man. The spirit of man is the light of the Lord. Light is the symbol of the divine law. The commandment is a lamp and the law is a light. Light is a symbol of Israel's mission. I, the Lord, have set these for a covenant of the people, for a light to be a light unto the nations. Therefore, in the spirit of our ancient tradition that hallows and unites Israel in all lands and all ages, do we now kindle the Sabbath lights. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbos. Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us by thy laws and commanded us to kindle the Sabbath light. May the Lord bless us with Sabbath joy. May the Lord bless us with Sabbath holiness. May the Lord bless us with Sabbath peace. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ruth. And Elliot is going to lead us in the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית. כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העולמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
L'chaim.
Achayim.
So this week's Torah portion, Ki Tetzeh, contains, according to Maimonides, 72 mitzvot, 72 commandments, most of which are concerned with the moral values that God wants the Israelites to follow in the Promised Land. In contrast to a place like Sodom, from Sodom and Gomorrah, where everyone was in it for themselves, these laws are meant to create a society where people care for one another. And we are to behave ethically, not only with people from our own milieu, but also with the stranger and the orphan, the widow, and yes, even with our enemies. Here is an example of what the Torah tells us to do with regard to our enemies. If you see your fellow Israelites' ox or sheep gone astray, do not ignore it. You must take it back to your peer, and that includes people that you don't like and your enemies. As Rabbi Rachel Shabbat Halachmi explains, responsibility to protect and to return lost property to one's neighbor is central to this vision of how detailed, prescribed behavior safeguards a society that strives towards the ethical. One's neighbor's property is to be guarded as carefully as one's own. We continue with Ritzeh.
Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu be'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel u'tehile ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael. Israel Amecha El Karov Lechol Koreach Panei Elav Adecha V'chaneinu Shefoch Ruchecha Zena ezenu beshuv echal Tzion Abrachamim Baruch Shechinato Letzion, Letzion, Letzion.
So with all the mitzvot that we're commanded to keep in our Torah portion, what's the reward? For most of these mitzvot, there is no stated reward. In fact, the Hasidic rabbi, the Dubner Magid, tells the story of a father who complains to a neighbor that his son is ill and will not eat his meals. The neighbor visits the boy and offers him a toy if he'll eat. The boy consumes a considerable portion of food. Now, when the neighbor tells the father of his trick, the father comments, "What you tell me only confirms my anxiety about my son's health. If he were really healthy, he would eat to satisfy his appetite, not because he's eager for a toy." From this tale, the Hasidic rabbi teaches, one who does mitzvot in the name of gaining a reward is spiritually ill. The Hatzi Kaddish is next.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעלם ולעלם מעלמיה, יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר, ויתהלל, ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, ואלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעמה, ואמרו Amen.
And we continue with the Baruch Hu, the call to worship.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, 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 Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed.
Rabbi Arnold Jacob Wolf compares the mitzvot to jewels. He says, I try to walk the road of Judaism. Embedded in that road, there are many jewels. One is marked Sabbath, and one civil rights, and one kashrut, and one honor your parents, and one you shall be holy. There are at least 613 of them, and they are different shapes and sizes and weights. Some are light and easy for me to pick up, and I pick them up. Some are too deeply embedded for me, so far at least, though I get a little stronger by trying to extricate the jewels as I walk the street. Some perhaps I shall never be able to pick up. I believe that God expects me to keep on walking Judaism's street and to carry away whatever I can of its commandments. I do not believe that God expects me to lift what I cannot, nor may I condemn my fellow Jew who may not be able to pick up even as much as I can. So the idea is we try a little and then we try a little more. Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam, Bet Yisrael, Amecha Ahavta, Amecha Ahavta. Torah ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, נגע יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. אוהב עמו
Please join us in the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
And Carol Lee is going to lead us in the Ve'ahavta. Thank you, Carol Lee.
Oh, my pleasure. Everybody join me. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'chol nafshecha u'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha Hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shiftecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'derech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leod al yadecha, v'hayu latotafot b'neinecha. Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha laman tiskaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher Hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
So I wrote my rabbinical thesis on employer-employee relations in Jewish tradition. A good portion of the laws governing this area comes from this very Torah portion, which states, you must pay a hired worker his wages on the same day before the sun sets, for he is needy and urgently depends on it. As explained by Michael Perry, the Talmud warns that employers who withhold wages are guilty of 6 violations: oppressing a neighbor, stealing, oppressing the poor, delaying payment of wages, failing to pay wages at the due date, and failing to pay wages before sunset. Indeed, the Talmud warns that, quote, he who withholds an employee's wages is as though he deprived him of his life. This principle was considered so sacrosanct that Talmudic sages reversed the burden of proof under contract law in cases involving disputes over the payment of wages. In an ordinary contract dispute in which there is no evidence to support either claimant, under Jewish religious law, persons accused of owing money can defend themselves simply by taking an oath that they do not owe the money. If, however, a worker accuses an employer of owing wages, the worker is entitled to take the oath and the accused, i.e. the employer, must pay. Milchamocha, our liberation from slavery in Egypt.
Yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 mi chamocha b'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedam hakol Tehilot osefel מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 Seli Eli Anu ve'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam le'olam va'ed die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die die die
I really wish we could all sing and clap together, but
I heard them.
yeah, I by mistake started singing a little bit and I thought, oh, I'm not muted.
Hardly the mistake.
Sorry.
Not at all.
So a midrash from Devarim Rabbah, which means the great Deuteronomy. It says, remember that God operated according to different rules than an employer. So this is what they compare it to. A king hired laborers and brought them into his garden without disclosing what he intended to pay for the various kinds of work, lest they should neglect the work for which the pay was little, for work for which the pay was high. In other words, if this amount of work is going to give me very little money and this one is going to give me a lot, I'm going to focus over here. So the king did tell them which was which. In the evening, the king called each one and asked him, at which tree have you worked? He replied, at this one. Thereupon the king said to him, this is a pepper tree, and the pay for working at it is 1 golden piece. He then called another and asked him, at which tree have you worked? And he replied, at this one. Whereupon the king exclaimed, this is an olive tree, and the pay for working it is 200 zuz, which is less than a golden coin. So the laborers said to the king, you should have informed us from the outset which tree had the greater pay attached to it, so that we might have worked on it. And the king replied, had I done this, how would the whole of my garden have been worked? So God did not reveal the reward of the precepts except of two, the weightiest and the least weighty. In other words, that's why most of our mitzvot, we don't get a reason for them, except for these two, honoring of parents, which is the very weightiest of all the mitzvot, and the sending away of the mother bird, which is the least weighty. And that's part of what's in our Torah portion this week. And that is that if you decide to take the babies or the eggs of a mother bird, you have to do it once the mother bird is away from the nest, because you don't want to break her heart. Yismechu, where we celebrate Shabbat. And I will silence myself this time.
Well, I expect to hear everybody singing along. This is a very catchy tune by Robbie Solomon, a wonderful cantor. And the tune happens twice, the refrain happens twice at the beginning and then once in between the verses.
Well, they're going to have to sing, unfortunately, without being heard, because otherwise it'll sound really cacophonous.
ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג, עונג שבת. Once more, everyone. ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג, עונג שבת. המקדש שבי, המקדש שבי שבת, כולם ישמעו את ידנגו מטובך שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג, עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת, חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג, עונג שבת.
Beautiful. We continue with the tefillah.
Adonai sefer tiftachu fi yagi tefillah. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'emetenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, v'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, גומר חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומשיח ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב הושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומרי אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לישני עפר, מי כמוך לעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל, אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום, יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
And let's pray silently for a moment. And we conclude the Amidah with Shalom Rav, a great peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom, v'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael. בכל טוב כל שעה בשלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Elliot, I hope you're watching the chat because there have been a lot of compliments on your beautiful voice.
Well, thank you. That's I appreciate that. I wrote that piece many years ago in Nantucket, where I'm the High Holy Day cantorial soloist. And actually, the next two pieces, this is a Misha Barak with a text written by the cantor there in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where Amy used to teach. Gail Zumpano wrote this text, and it hasn't been heard on the West Coast before.
Whoa, okay, a premiere. So we do take a moment now to think of those in need of healing, whether of body, of mind, or of spirit. First of all, we send prayers for Jacob Blake, who was shot by the police 7 times in the back, and he's fighting for his life. We also think of congregants and friends and family of congregants, Jonathan Davidson, Brenda Oppenheim, Randy Rubin, Ben Henderson, Marty Tarmo, Les Wilkerson, Rabbi Steve Robbins, Gloria Mangus, Steve Lux, Carol and David Allstat, Jan Judman, Emily Pasquarelli, Mitchell Smith, Larry Miller, Julie Lapidus, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Irv Richards, Pamela Mangus, David Liepman, Johnny Sikat, Aharon Pincus, and Kenny Hayes. If you'd like to add a name, please do so either in the chat or you can unmute yourselves. Okay, got a lot of names in the chat.
I'd like to add my cousin, Mike Sokolow.
Terry Wolf, Jolene Gillespie.
And Robin Kurland, David Kurland, Therese Spellman, Bob Engel, Don Caldwell, Ron Jones, Ruth and Sandra Landis, Joe Stern, Patty Podner, Sandra Stokely, Tom Johnson, Connie Herrera, Natalie Clay, Dune Baker, Kathy Resnick, Sandra Stackler, Suzanne Myers, Elaine Burke. Any other names that you'd like to add? So we join in the Misha Berach, the prayer for healing, and this one, as Elliot mentioned, was written by Elliot.
Our God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, send your blessing to those we have named. Have mercy on them, restore their health and strength. Grant them a refuah shlema, a complete recovery, along with all who are stricken. May healing come speedily, and let us say, Amen. Amen. May they be strengthened with faith, love, and caring. May they know sustenance from their friends and families. May those who seek ways of healing be blessed with courage, stamina, and community. And let us say, Amen, Amen, Amen.
Lovely. In a couple of minutes, I'm going to split us up into small groups again. I think that most people enjoy that. And please don't feel shy about joining a group because, it's just a way to get to know people better. I'm going to say a couple of words about the Torah portion that I'd like you to kind of think about when you're together in the groups. So as I mentioned, in our Torah portion, we have these verses. If you see your fellow's ox or sheep gone astray, do not ignore it. You must take it back to your fellow. And if your fellow does not live near you, or you do not know who he is, you shall bring it home, and it shall remain with you until your fellow claims it, and then you shall give it back. You shall do the same with his donkey, and the same with his garment, and so too shall you do it with anything that your fellow loses and you find. Okay, that's the verse. Now, Zohar Atkins, who writes about the Torah every week, says that the health of a society may be measured by how seriously it takes the norm of reuniting lost objects with their owners. Remember, I mentioned that in Sodom, as in Sodom and Gomorrah, people would say what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours, and I guess finders keepers, but that's not what the Torah says. So not only does returning a lost object require honesty and effort, but it also requires the returner's ability to identify the returnee on the basis of the lost object alone. A society in which neighbors go to the extra mile to return each other's lost objects is one in which the bonds of mutual care take precedence over short-sighted egocentricity. So when we return somebody's object, it means that we care about them and we want to make sure they don't lose what they've had. Now, according to the Talmud, the failure to return a lost object that one has is basically likened to theft. But let's look at it on a deeper level, spiritually. The lost object often represents an aspect of the owner's self. So returning a lost object is not just about restoring the owner's sense of self, it's also a pretext for building a relationship with that person. And this law takes on special intensity because we are now in the month of Elul. This is the month preceding the high holidays, a time for reflection, inner work, and teshuvah. Returning is what it really means, or repentance. And it's the culmination of a process of returning to ourselves, of finding that which we have hidden from ourselves. So in other words, this is not just about returning a lost object to someone else. It's also about finding what we've lost in our own selves. The Midrash suggests that on the first of Elul, Moses ascended Mount Sinai to receive the second set of tablets, because remember, the first set were broken. On Yom Kippur, Moses descends to bring the second set of tablets to the people. In other words, the Torah itself is a lost object to which we must return, just as we are the lost objects to which the Torah must return. If we understand the true lost object to be our innermost sense of self, then we need each other in this process because of our propensities for self-deceit and self-distortion. As the Talmud puts it, the prisoner cannot free himself from jail. So as we search for what we've lost in ourselves, we often need other people, our friends, our family, to tell us the truth. Okay, so I'd like you to think about a couple of questions. What are the lost objects that you're trying to find during this month of Elul? And you can talk about it in terms of actual objects, or you can talk about it in terms of something within yourself that you're trying to find. Maybe, for example, in my case, I would say patience. Every year, I try to find some patience, and I don't necessarily succeed, but I try every year to find it. And sometimes you're put in situations where you absolutely have to find it because there's no other choice. And the second question is, what people do you need to help you find this? So I am going to break you up into groups, and I hope you can have a nice conversation for maybe about 10 minutes. So I'm going to divide this up into, I'm going to do 8 groups, and just click on and say you accept going into a particular room. So we'll see you back in 10 minutes. Hi there. I joined this. Oh, hi, Ruth. Okay, can folks unmute themselves and also maybe show us a picture so we can see who you are? Heshi and Susan and Susie and Lila, are you guys there? One unassigned participant. Let's see, who's unassigned? Roger Campbell. Assigned to, I'm going to assign him to this room. Okay.
How do we know where we're assigned?
You're there. You're in this room with Susie Myers, Roger Campbell, Heshi and Susan. Hello. All right. Is Lila there as well, Susie?
I don't see her.
Oh, maybe she went to a different room. Okay. So I joined this room because it didn't look like a lot of people were joining. So I wanted to make sure that you could have a conversation. So let's just, think about this a little bit. What are you guys looking for in the month of Elul? What are the lost objects in your own world or your own self that you're trying to find? I told you I'm trying to find patience. That's one of the things I try to find every year, and I never find it.
Joy, by the way, I had a little surgery. You could see that, right?
Oh, I see. Okay. Is that why you're wearing dark glasses?
Yeah, I have another pair too, if you want to see a really good looking pair. That's exactly why I'm wearing glasses.
Okay. So you're trying to find joy?
Again.
Yeah. Well, it's you had it and you lost it. So now you got to find it again. How do you think you might find it?
I think that feeling more confident about life coming back to normal, no matter how long it takes, is just being grateful for the small things that we get back. I think that's part of it. And I think that that's a big deal. I think it's been difficult to reach down and find that during this time.
It's a very hard time. Definitely.
Yeah.
What about you, Roger? Is there something you're trying to?
Sure. I'm just trying to find possibly new friendships.
Okay.
And because of the virus, that's kind of, it's a little bit more,
Yeah.
I guess. But yes, I need to find more friendships.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I feel bad for the young people today because how do you find a partner when, you really don't know who might be carrying the virus, right? And
Yeah, and just that, you can't meet in big groups, and maybe
Right.
5 people is too big of a group. So it does make certain people a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Ruth?
Well, actually, I just take it a day at a time because there is so much to be grateful for in what we have, and we don't know what the future holds. So I'm not trying to search for anything. I'm just trying to enjoy what I can with family when we can do these nice Zooms with family, and they come here. I've enjoyed my grandson here. So I kind of accept things for what they are. And if they're difficult, they've been difficult before, and hopefully more for other people than for myself. I hope they get better so that they can enjoy some of the things that I have enjoyed throughout my life.
That's a great attitude. Susan, hi. Susan, we're talking. I don't know who's talking. It's coming from a different group. Susan, we're talking about, oh, is she frozen? Susan, are you there? I think she's frozen. Oh dear. Okay, well, whatever. But I think this is, I'm actually going to be doing a teaching on the Akedah. And I'm going to use something that I learned from another rabbi, which is the idea that, seriously, Sodom and Gomorrah, I mean, we don't know a lot about Sodom and Gomorrah. We just know there was something bad going on, and that's why God decides to destroy the cities. So, of course, the Midrash has to try to figure out what it was that was so terrible. And, again, it's a very selfish kind of community. And so something like, giving to, apparently if anybody tried to feed someone who was hungry or whatever, they would get punished. You weren't allowed to do that. So that's where you're, actually giving something to someone else. But even like returning something that belongs to someone else became, I mean, they probably wouldn't even think about it. And really and truly, Abraham kind of has a choice of following along that way, or there's the king of Jerusalem who comes out and offers him blessings and gifts and all of that. So he has the choice really to go one way or the other. And of course he chooses, not the way of Sodom. But I think in some ways he has to learn his lesson when he's told to sacrifice his son and find out that actually, that's actually not the way of God, that you actually, give up your son. That's actually in some ways very selfish because he's trying to show his faith in such a way that it doesn't matter what happens to someone else, I mean, at least that's my interpretation. Of course, for the rabbis, Abraham is the man of faith, who's willing to do anything God says. But, Rabbi Harold Schulweis, who was the rabbi in Encino for a long time, says basically if, the order is immoral, then it's not from God, right? So you don't decide that because God ordered it, it's good. It's only if it's good, then it's from God. And trying to discern what's good and what isn't. And I think that the Torah is a lot about trying to figure out how we're going to live together in a way that is kind to other people, kind and compassionate, and taking care of those who are less fortunate. But that includes ourselves. Remember our famous Rabbi Hillel, if I'm not for myself, who will be? But if I'm for myself only, what am I? And if not, right?
Pirkei Avot.
Yeah.
A lot of good things in Pirkei Avot.
A lot of good stuff. And so the fact of the matter is that we have to look out for ourselves. And that's sometimes really, really hard. Because you want to take care of other people and you don't want to hurt other people and, all of that. And you feel like you'll be a bad person
Did you hear that, Oscar?
I was talking to another rabbi about that today. Setting certain limits, some boundaries is actually, not a mean thing to do, even though especially women, I think, are taught that that's mean. Saying, no, that's like, you're going too far. I can't do this, right? It's a balancing act. But I think the month of Elul, which is what we're in right now, is a time to really try to not figure it all out forever, but figure it out for now. Like, how are we, here we are in a really difficult, challenging situation. We have a pandemic. We don't see an end yet. I just saw a piece that came in from a rabbi saying, I'm not going to get a vaccine if there's one because I don't trust that they're doing the proper testing. Okay, that's how bad things are right now. And we have a really, chaotic society. We have a lot of dissension. We have a lot of, really hard times. And a political situation that's really, really, difficult. And, how in all of this do we navigate and find a place where we're okay? Which is what,
We try and do what we think is right and try and encourage other people with the same ideas. But in the end, it's their choice. The only one you really have any control over is yourself. You can do what you do, Rabbi, with help everyone and be there for everyone, which is wonderful, but you're not listening to Hillel.
I know.
You take care of yourself too.
I'm trying. Yeah. So any last comments before we go back to I think I'm going to have to announce that we're going to.
Actually, if you have a minute, I just want to mention to you, when you talk about different people, I had an amazing story about the Hawaiian people. We had a family trip to Hawaii where I took my grandchildren, lost a bracelet that was given to me by Arnold, hugs and kisses, a good bracelet, gold and diamonds, not big, but just very meaningful. It was lost. We checked with everyone, the airlines, everything. Nobody found it at the hotel. I come home and I have a call from Hawaii with a Hawaiian accent that the cleaning people on the plane know that when someone loses something and they give it to the airline, it disappears. And so they gave it to her, the head of the cleaning people, and they have a tradition, which we, by the way, learned when Sydney and I did hula dancing lessons. They told us the tradition that if you find something that belongs to someone else, give it back.
Wow.
All it will do is give you bad luck.
That's a great story. It's perfect.
Great story.
That by FedEx, I said, can I give them some money? No, just pay for the FedEx. And it was here the next day.
Unbelievable. That's great. That's so perfect for the Torah portion.
Well, this is why
I just, unfortunately, by mistake, pressed the wrong button and left my breakout room. Hi, Rosemary. You're muted. Yeah. I didn't mean, sorry, Roger, and Susie, I didn't mean to leave. I pressed the wrong button. Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay.
You know how it is? It's like you go, oh yeah, this is what.
You're doing excellent.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, luckily someone's helping with the slides because I was doing everything myself and that's just too much.
Yeah.
But the others have a few more seconds to come back. Susie, you know what? I checked on the live feed on YouTube and the whole time the camera was just on you sitting there. It's very strange. I don't understand. We were spotlighting people during the service, and when I checked with the live feed, it didn't spotlight anybody. It just showed everybody. I don't know. Who knows how this stuff works? But
It showed me in the sunglasses.
no, it showed. Oh, I'm sorry. It showed Susie Copel.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. So I hope you had some fruitful conversations. Does anybody want to share anything that that you discussed?
We discussed the dog that came to the temple that we took home and found the owner.
Wow, nice. Oh yeah, right. Last right before we had to go into lockdown, right? I remember that.
And how it really affected Madison. It affected all of us because we really liked the dog. But Madison was even sleeping with it. I mean, she loved the dog.
Right.
So it was good to give it back to the owner, but it was kind of hard for the rest of us.
Well, there you go. That's the thing. You know, you find something, whether it's a dog that you love or, you know, a beautiful piece of jewelry or whatever. Ruth, why don't you tell the story that you told us just now about Hawaii? It was perfect. You have to unmute yourself. Okay, she's gonna, wait a minute, maybe I can help you.
She is unmuted.
Did I do it?
There you go, yeah. Tell us the story about Hawaii.
Well, we were joining Mark Marilyn and the family that had a condo for a holiday. Karen was working. She said, take the kids to Hawaii. They were young. So Arnie and I took them. We stayed in a hotel, and we did get into some of the programs they had. They had all kinds of nice programs with the Hawaiian people. And on the way to Hawaii, I lost a bracelet that Arnie had given me many years ago. Hugs and kisses. It was a beautiful bracelet. It was expensive, fairly small, but expensive jewelry. And I couldn't find it. And we checked with the hotel, with the airline, everything. No one found it. So, you know, it's one of those things. And we still had a good time. And we took hula lessons, and we learned Hawaiian history and some of the traditions in Hawaii during the hula lessons. This was Sydney and I. Well, one of them was that if you find something that does not belong to you, try to find the rightful owner and give it back, because all it will do is mention that. So when I get home to Riverside, I have a phone call from the cleaning department of airline, not the airline itself. And it happened to be a Hawaiian person. And she said, did anyone by any chance lose anything, you know, Geller, Kuhat, that's their name, on a flight to Hawaii? And I said, yes. I mean, I did lose a bracelet. She said, well, the cleaners found it. They didn't give it back to the airline because many times, I don't think that's all the time, many times it disappears in moving from one place to another. But she said, we have it. And she described it, and I described it. And she said, if you want me to, I'll FedEx it to you. And I said, well, please, I want to give them a reward. She said, no, because this is our tradition. When you find something that isn't yours, you try to find the rightful owner. And the next day, I'm wearing the bracelet right now.
Wonderful. That's such a wonderful story. Thank you.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
That's great. Great.
And that's Hawaiian, you know.
Yeah. Well, a lot of traditions have similar things, you know,
What I'm saying
teach.
is that that's why, as you say, Rabbi, we need to be open to all people.
So anybody have any announcements they want to make? I know Eileen, yes, Eileen, do you want to, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I unmuted me.
Okay.
I just want to remind everyone that because we're not having services for the High Holy Days at the temple this year, that we are holding our annual food drive also virtually. And if you look in the Wednesday email, you'll see that we have designated 3 organizations that feed the hungry. And we are asking people to donate directly to those organizations, either online, you'll find an online address, or by sending a check directly to them. And if you think about it, put down from Temple Bethel so that they know that it's coming from us. I've already alerted a couple of them that we are doing that. And I'm hoping that we get a decent amount of donations, because things are really, really bad right now and people need the food desperately.
Thank you, Eileen. That's great. Anybody else?
Yes, I would, Rabbi, may I
Yes,
say?
Rosalie, yes.
Yeah, normally we're not here in August, we're in Santa Cruz. But we're here today because we're evacuees from the fire. Whoa. Our daughter has a home in Felton, and they had to be evacuated, and they won't be able to be back for a couple of weeks. So we're here early, and I'm pleased for them, but I've forgotten what August is like in Riverside.
It's pretty bad right now. Is your place okay in Santa
Yes,
Cruz?
the place is okay. It just takes some time for them to get the utilities in order and clean up. So
Yeah.
we're happy to do that, and happy to be back.
Good. Welcome back.
Especially for this service. I really enjoyed our cantors so much.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I was in LA a couple days ago, and driving back, I realized that there's a lot of smoke here. You just saw this layer of smoke all across the way. It's worse in the north, and it's gone, I think, as far as like Nebraska or something, which is really crazy. Yeah, I mean, that's all. I just hope we don't get an earthquake. Anyone else have an announcement or something to share?
Yeah, we're so thankful that the hurricane that went through New Orleans did not go. My granddaughter is going to Tulane. So we're so thankful that it missed the college and it missed the town where she is.
Yeah.
And she's okay, thank God.
Yeah, I think it wasn't quite as bad as they were thinking it might be. So that's fortunate. Yeah. Well, first of all, I would like to thank Jason, who did a great job highlighting the people that needed to be highlighted. And it's not easy because there are a lot of buttons to push and they're not in good places, and it's not really, but one day you'll be a sports director for TV, and anyway, and getting all the slides up at the right time and everything. Thank you. And of course, thank you so much to Elliot Levine. Everyone just loved your music and your voice. So really appreciate your
Be coming back.
Elliot is actually going to Nantucket to do the high holidays, which be interesting to hear about it because they've got a certain limited number of people who can actually go into the sanctuary. Massachusetts is in a very different place from California, right? They've really gotten the numbers down.
Accept me off the airline.
Yeah, we'll just wear a mask and don't sit next to anyone who isn't.
Wear a face covering too. One of those shields. Wear a shield. Yeah, get a shield.
Actually, an N95 mask protects you if you can get one. Yeah. We're still working on the high holidays. I hope they'll be great. Morris and Jory are doing a lot of editing, and I really appreciate what they're doing. We couldn't do it without them, seriously. So let's continue. Yes, Carolee, did you want to say something?
Oh, I bought one of those shields today. Do you want to see it?
It's one of those plastic things, right?
Oh yeah, but it's adorable. Hold on.
So while she's doing that, the Torah readings are going to be really cool because the people who chanted did it in their own homes, but Morris gave them a background that made it look like they were on the Bima. And then he split the screen and I used the pointer to show where in the Torah we're reading. And so you see that. Oh my God, there you go. That's a Carolee shield. That's a Carolee shield.
Carolee, that's definitely your style.
Right.
That is perfect, Carolee.
Carolee. Everybody wants one. Decorate doesn't have to be like this. They have all sorts of stuff. I can get it for you, so just call me.
Oh, ooh.
Where did you get it?
Yeah, well, we went to the dermatologist, and the dermatologist nurse, friend of mine, has a whole stack of them. So let me know.
Okay. By the way, I introduced a couple of people before, but I'd like to introduce them to everybody who's here. First of all, we've met her before, but Rosemary Young, who joined our temple right before we went into, hiding. Are you still in Texas? No, you're back. Okay. She somehow can't connect to our sound. But anyway, so welcome back. Roger Campbell, who's come to a few services and has joined us. Teresa and her husband, Kenneth Sitz. Teresa found us, believe it or not, on Yelp. Who knew? Okay. Juan Moriel, who is on the verge of converting to Judaism. And, it'll be an interesting thing to see how we do it during this pandemic, but we will. I'm just going down the line to see, let's see. Ellie Tolliver is also working on conversion. I don't know if she's still there. Edward, are you there? Hi, okay. Edward Zaga is a professor at the University of California in Riverside. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Shabbat shalom to everyone.
Shabbat
Thank
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Nan Levine is related to Elliot Levine.
My sister-in-law, and my
welcome.
brother's probably there too. My brother Samson.
Sandra Stackler, we don't really know who you are. Are you actually there? Can we see you or hear you? And then Carl and Denise Rose, who are in Las Vegas.
Rabbi Sandy is my mom.
Oh, Sandy is your mom. Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Lila's grandma, yeah.
Yeah, and Lila Halbers is Susie's daughter, who's she graduated from UC Santa Barbara, right? And is going to do graduate work.
USC Pharmacy School for her master's and starting her PhD at UC.
Wonderful. Victoria McKay is also going to be working on conversion, possibly. So
Hello.
welcome to all of you. Hello. Elliot, more compliments for you. Jan Pierce would be proud, says Ezra.
Oh my God! Well, that's a great honor. I actually heard him sing. He was a great singer. Thank you.
So I hope you're looking at all those wonderful compliments in the chat.
No, I guess I should. Oh gosh.
I copied some of them for you. Okay.
Oh, thanks.
So let's go on to the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרמים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל הלבבך. כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד.
V'ne'emar.
Oh yeah. Just spaced out. V'ne'emar ya Adonai nemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Thank you.
So we think of those who are no longer with us. May their memories be for a blessing. We mentioned the names of two people who were shot in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber. We're observing Shiva for Ollie Hayes, uncle of Kenny Hayes, and Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning for William Stephen Cohen, brother of Judy Wall. Is anyone else in Shloshim or the first year of mourning who would like to mention a name? I know we have Werner Kopel and Arnie Geller. And please unmute yourselves or put it in the chat.
Scott Morai.
Susan
Dale
Jefferson.
Lucas.
Gary Ferris.
Yeah. Say it.
Kalik Diaz.
Susan.
Yeah, well, say it. You have to say it so they can hear you.
Reverend Jane Carl. Elaine Marcus, Dr. Bob Levy. Does someone want to mention something, a name out loud?
Susan Jones.
Susan Jones. And of course, we think of those who perished in the Holocaust and have no one to say the mourner's Kaddish for them. Now, you're free to unmute yourselves and to join me in the mourner's Kaddish if you'd like.
Ian, hold on.
Yikadal, Yikadash, Shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach yechutei, Yamlich malchutei, B'chayachon yomechon, Chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'bizman kariv, Yimru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach, Be'olam u'albei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal Shmei d'Kudusha b'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbachata v'nechemata Da'amiran be'alma Yimru Amen.
Amen.
Hey Shlama Rabba min Shemaya V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael Imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'romav Huya aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen. And we also mention the name of Stephen Halbers, Lila's father, and may the source of blessing bring peace to all who are in mourning, as together we say, Amen. Amen. And our closing song is Adon Olam. I will ask you to please mute yourselves again if you haven't already. And please join us behind your muted walls.
I just want to say that I'll be delighted to join you in song during the High Holy Days. The choir is recording 2 pieces of mine, and Amy and I sing on those. Many years ago, when we lived in New York, I sang at Park Avenue Synagogue, which has a very famous music program. And at last count, there are 8,015 settings of Adon Olam. So I figured we need one more. This is one I wrote for there.
Adon Olam, Hashem. טרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה וחרצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא חיה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד ואין שני להמשילו להכבירה אלי ראשית בלי תחליף אל העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוזי ביום אקרא דולכי בעת אישן בעירה ואם רוחי כבייתי אדוני ולא אירה
And we conclude with the Motzi.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices join in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. So good to have everyone. And thank you again to Elliot for your beautiful, beautiful music. If people want to stick around and hang out and talk, you are all welcome to do so.
It was beautiful. Elliot has a beautiful music.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Voice.